reason, guys. Money and power. I hate to say that because I'm sure people are going to say, it's not about the money. It's not about the power. But if you are on a mission like I am to create change, to impact change, to disrupt systems, it's about the money and the power. And when I say money and power, I mean like coming from my identity as a woman of color in America, a Black woman in America with a Black son in America. I need money and I need a seat at the table to impact change so that when he goes off to kindergarten, he doesn't have to worry about the things that have happened, that are happening. So it is very, very, very important. And I plead with teachers that are going back this year that we cannot say that we want to raise, but also say it's not about the money. And what I mean by that is the myth of meaningful work. We are taught, we are built that when we are in these fields, it is not about the money, it's about the change. Don't you want to make a difference? All the sentimental stuff. They will say how much we mean to the world, but they will not pay us for it. So it's time that we start to say, okay, if I mean this much, if I impact the kids this much, then pay me for this. Like, pay me for this. Like, this is just coming as a former teacher now to present teachers. Don't back down. Don't back down. Because at the end of the day, they will pay you as little as possible and have you do as much as possible. Period. Okay, next reason. So, the only a teacher thing drove me nuts. And I say that because, like, if you're in the field, if you're on the front lines as teachers, right? We know that teacher appreciation is great. It is. The parents are great when they get us stuff, and the kids, sorry, I gotta get some tea, you guys. And the kids get us stuff and, show us their love. But at the end of the day, as far as our opinions, our voice, what we think, teachers and future teachers and former teachers, we all have to realize that a lot of times all of our work is not getting acknowledged unless it is teacher appreciation or they need something out of this. And I learned this from pandemic teaching. And it's unfortunate because when I think about my career, I feel like maybe if I taught in the 90s, in the 2000s, maybe it would be different. I've heard it was different, but coming as a teacher who taught through the pandemic and then was done, I realized, like, we don't have no voice, you guys. And that, if that didn't drive you crazy like it drove me crazy, then you're good. Like, if you can go in that classroom and not focus on the politics and not care that people are making decisions for you and you're not having any input in it, then I applaud you, right? Because that takes a lot of like blinders like tunnel vision definitely. But as for me, it was crazy to see that we were putting our lives on the line and told that was something we were supposed to do. Like as teachers, we took an oath to die for these kids, and this is coming in the light of the mass shootings that have been happening. It's just crazy that a lot of people don't realize that teachers have their own families to go home to. And a lot of times we are looked looked at as sacrificial. Sacrifice your life, sacrifice your mental health, sacrifice your physical health, sacrifice your work-life balance, sacrifice your time with your kids, and then we'll say you're a great teacher. Like it took me, and I know people who are not out of the realm won't get it, but it took me a while to really, like, for it to click. And then when it clicked, I was like, oh no, this is no. This is no. And I'm coming to you as a former teacher that plans to continue to make changes for teachers. Like, I'm not just leaving the field, I'm done, F y'all. I'm still thinking of ways like what I can do to help teachers in the field, because even as a teacher myself, like coming back into the school building from the pandemic and being the teacher who told the principal, like, this is what we need as teachers, like, can you give us yoga, can we have this, can we have this space, can we have that, and seeing that those things were given due from my opinion, which was great, but it was disheartening to see that if I hadn't spoke up they wouldn't even thought like, hey, we need to do something to bring up the morale of teachers, like teaching in a pandemic. So that leads me to my next point. That the pandemic taught me that teachers are disposable. And I know this is gonna ruffle some feathers, because as teachers, we are very humble, but a lot of us have I don't even know whether to call it a God complex or a superior complex, but a lot of times we are built up by the symbolism and the sentiment, the sentimental part of it and the meaningful part of it, that we believe that without us, the school will crumble. Without us, our students will just die. Like, we need to be there, or the whole future of the students is just in shambles. And as much as it's great to think that, as a teacher myself, I, especially in California, because my students were mostly poor, not all of them, but a lot of them were mostly lower income. I literally thought, like, I'm going to Georgia and leaving them and their whole futures are done because I'm leaving. But in reality, you guys, we are, and I'm not saying this as far as your life, the value of your life, the value of your career, but in the realm of the HR department of every school district, we are disposable. We're disposable. If you die, if you quit, if you have a mental breakdown and you can't teach no more, they are going to replace you. You are replaceable. As great as a teacher you are, and all the students love you, all the parents love you, your principal love you, you were the teacher of the year. They're going to replace you. And I'm not saying that to break us down. I'm saying that to build us up. Meaning, if you feel the need to go, don't use your students as an excuse like I did. Because that year I came back from Georgia, to Georgia from California, I considered leaving teaching. But the first thing I thought, I can't leave the kids. So I literally was in shambles, making it through the school year just so I could prove the point that I didn't leave the kids. I didn't leave my teaching role. And then at the end of the year, it was like, what did I do this for? What? Why? Who? So I just say that to empower, not teachers who are fine and you're going to be there for 30 years and you're completely fine and happy with your career. But if you know that there is more, that there is more in you and you need to do more outside of the classroom, do not use your value as a classroom teacher as your reason for staying. Because at the end of the day, the school will still stand. And I'm saying that as someone who darn near died trying to get through a school year. The school year when I initially got to Georgia. And then later on, I said, this is a tropical place. So later on, took my family to the beach near the school. We passed by the school. School was just going. The school just, like, I didn't leave. And then I felt really foolish because I'm like, I put myself through all of that misery for no reason. Why? And a lot of times, even though we won't admit it, it is ego. It is, I don't want to be that teacher. It is, I'm better than that. It is, I'm a good teacher. It is, they need me. Like, that's ego. You guys, that's ego. Okay. So I talked a little bit about this, but I don't even know what reason, what number we're on, but the toxic positivity. Toxic positivity, and this is coming from a person that did a lot of work on herself. Like, I did a lot of therapy and meditation and self-care and all this stuff to better myself as a whole, and it took me doing all that work to see the toxic positivity. Sometimes you can't see things, you aren't aware to things because you haven't gotten to a greater level of awareness within yourself. So toxic positivity in terms of, like, I mean, and you know what? I'm not even going to apologize. If you're offended, you're offended. You're going to be offended. You're looking to be offended. So be offended. But Jeans Day, I mean, the incentive of Jeans Day, like, what? So I say this because it's like, if you find that incentive, great. Great. As someone who doesn't wear jeans to work really, and who likes to dress up and be fancy, it really didn't matter to me. Like, half the time I wasn't even aware when it was happening. So, like, things like that kind of diminished my views of where I was because oftentimes I felt like we were the kids. Like, we thought we were the teachers, but we were really the students in terms of the incentives, because it was like, pay me more, let me take a half day. That's an incentive. Let me leave when the kids leave, which is a suggestion that I gave to my administration, and they followed through on that. But why should it take me to say that? You know what I mean? So it's just like, that kind of threw me off, because I was just like, keep in mind, I didn't start teaching from college. I've been in other professions, you know what I mean? So it's like, coming from being a flight attendant, working in the corporate world, all of those things helped me to see that things were weird in the teacher. Like, we settled for things in the teaching profession that other professions didn't settle for, like having a bed to go to the bathroom, not getting a scheduled break. All right, so okay. So I know what you were talking about. Sorry, I keep getting rudely interrupted. But anyways, just the ideal of having to, like, hope you get your full lunch, or not getting those 2 scheduled, breaks that every other industry, even if you work at McDonald's, you're gonna get your scheduled 15-minute break. Those were things that I thought was strange, but I think I was the only one that thought it was strange, because I came from different careers. I had experience with different careers, and some people probably thought it was strange too. They just didn't say anything. But I had to get really used to the fact that teaching is a whole nother different ball game in terms of, like, balance. Because in my experience, there was none. There was no balance, and I mean that in all ways. I mean work-life balance. I mean balance in terms of teaching time and planning time and let me get my thoughts together time, and I gotta go to the bathroom time. It just was no balance. No balance, you know. So my last reason is literally, and I know this sounds cliche, but you know, in my time as a teacher, because this is the longest profession I've had, you have to keep in mind that if I like something, I love it. If I don't like it, you know, and I think teaching is different because I love teaching and I still was able to leave. But my thing is, like, when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. I'm not gonna, you know, stay an extra 5 years just for the sake of staying. Because that's wasting time and that's wasting space for someone who wants to get in there, and that is their dream. So that leads me to my last reason. This is not my dream. It just wasn't my dream. And I think it has been hard for me to say that out loud amongst people who maybe this is their dream, because oftentimes people will get offended if you have done what they have done and all. But true, this is not my dream. This was not my dream. I'm a very spiritual person. My relationship with God is everything, and God convicted me that there was more given I didn't go in teaching thinking I would do it 30 years anyway, but when I hit that 7-year itch, the 7-year breakup as they call it, yeah, I knew that there was more. And if I didn't leave now, I wouldn't leave, because a lot of times when you've invested so much time in something, there's no reason to leave. There's even more fear to leave. So I knew if I didn't leave now, I would not have left. And I knew that there was more for me. So I say that to say, like, to all those who have this as your dream, I applaud you, because to find a career and to know that this is your dream job and you're actually in it and it's accessible to you, that is amazing. But my dream, you know, to be an entrepreneur, you know, like, my creativity always made me a good teacher. You know, I used that, but I knew that that wasn't the only thing I could do with it. You know, I sew for those, you know, this whole channel is based on sewing creativity. Also, like, the fact that my social justice work, you know, like, having in the makings, like, my nonprofit, trying to teach students how to advocate for themselves, how to march for others, how to really be like social justice activists. That's my dream. That makes me excited. That pumps me up, you know what I mean? Like, and being in the classroom, like, it will pump me up because I could show the kids how to navigate, how to, you know, disrupt systems. And, you know, I want you to fight, and, you know, you don't have to accept the absolute truth as the absolute truth. And this was young kids, but, you know, even being able to do that, it just wasn't enough. I started to feel thirsty, like hungry for more. And I just knew that I had to do more. And to do more, I had to step outside the classroom, because although it gave me the avenue to be with youth, it was very limiting, because I got caught up in the teacher world, which I didn't want to get caught up in. And what I mean by that, I don't mean teaching, I don't mean being creative, I mean the teacher world of all the politics, all the paperwork, all the pleasing the administration, and like, that's not what I'm here for. And I realized that I was on the wrong assignment. You know, after a while, I was like, this is not the assignment I came here for. Like, I wanted to do social justice work, and I wanted to teach youth how to be agents of change. And I'm gonna do just that. So if you want a video of what I'm about to do next, let me know. But in the meantime, in between time, to all my teachers out there, I hope you have an awesome, amazing school year. If you love what you do, enjoy it. You know, I love my students. I will miss them dearly. I'm always finding a way to be back in their lives anyway, so I'm sure I'll be using them throughout my nonprofit work as much as I can. For those of you teachers who are teetering, who are like, is this my last year or not? I will tell you this. I entered the 2021-2022 school year knowing that this was probably going to be my last year. The only reason I went back is because I had hope that maybe if I went back, number one, it was ego, because I wanted to prove a point that I could work in the pandemic and I'm an awesome teacher, and that was ego. Secondly, it was to see if I really was ready to leave or if it was just because of the pandemic. And God revealed to me that no, it's time. It's time to go. He revealed it to me in so many different ways. I was so at unease. I was at a great school district, great school. But even then, I knew I deserved more. I knew I wanted more. I knew I had more in me to give than to just, and I hate to say to just, but for me, that's my personal opinion, to just do this. I wanted more for my kids, and I wanted my voice to be a voice of impact and not a voice that was ignored because I was a teacher, So if you are teetering, use this as your year to make your decision. Pay attention to how you feel. When I walked in my classroom, when I first started teaching, I felt like this is it. I felt like I'm, oh my gosh. And then when I walked in my classroom my last year, I was like, it felt like I had outdid my welcome. And what I mean by that, I was still good at it. I still, had a great relationship with my kids. I still was bringing the magic to the classroom, but it just felt like, Melanie, like this was supposed to be like the thing that was gonna launch you to do more from a community standpoint. And I don't want you to get stuck in the classroom and then finding yourself not being able to do all the social justice work and making those decisions and having an input in the way the system works, not just how my beehive worked, which was my classroom, or how my school worked, but how the system overall works. I just felt like I gotta, I gotta take the leap, and for those of you that are scared, you can always go back. For me, that was not an option. Once I leave, I'm done, in Jesus' name. So for me, it was just like, I just wanted to leave while I still loved it, because I've seen too many teachers stay past the time they love it and they're miserable, and it's like, why? Who are you doing this for? Who's it serving? It's not serving the kids. And this is coming from someone who has had a principal. When I chose myself and I had to take a break, had a principal say, oh, you didn't, it didn't serve the kids, it didn't help the kids. But I had to, be honest and say, me being here broken doesn't help the kids either, unless you just want a body in the classroom. So you really have to have a strong-willed, thick skin to really, go for it and leap and speak your truth. So, as I said, have an amazing school year. If you are a new teacher, I have 2 close friends that are new teachers. I try not to say too much to like put a bad taste in their mouth, but for all my new teachers, I am hoping and praying that this school year is way better than the past 2 school years. I hope that it's an amazing school year for you, and that this is your purpose and your passion, and that you can use it to get to where you want to be, and that you can be courageous just like we encourage these kids to be, and speak up for yourself. All right, so I will see you guys soon.